Welcome to Let's Ask, the place where you can ask any question that's on your mind and you can be sure to get an answer directly from the Bible. Go to www.exposingtruthministry.com and put your question there. Today we have with us David. Let's ask David. Does God expect us to keep the Ten Commandments?
That's really a interesting question. I like it. Very simple question is yes. And that's just straight out there. Think of it this way. In America, in most countries, you have speed limits for out on the road. It tells you how fast you can go. Are we expected to keep those speed limits? Yeah, we are, aren't we? God's commandments are more than just commandments. They are a way to live. They bring you peace. They show you what love is. But I want to look at a couple of things first, because a lot of churches out there believe that the commandments were nailed to the cross. And that's not what the Bible has to say. If we look at Ephesians 2:15, it says, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace. Now, one more verse, Colossians 2:14, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to the cross. So the question now is, commandments or ordinances? Are they the same? No. The commandments, the moral law, has nothing at all against us. You look at every single one of them, it just tells us how to live and how to love God, how to love our fellow man. When you look at the ordinances, the feast days and such like that, the ceremonial laws, they are called ordinances. And they almost always, you had to give a sacrifice for these ordinances, these feast days and such. That had something against us because we had to pay a price. We had to, or not we, but the children had to sacrifice a sheep and a lot of different things like that. Try not to go into the ordinance too much, or the feast days. So what was nailed to the cross, very simply, Paul tells us it was the ordinances that were against us. It was not the commandments of God. So what's so important about the commandments then? There has to be some type of some reason why they're important to God. We go back to Moses, we look at God when he had the 10 commandments were made. Moses had the Ark of the Covenant built in Deuteronomy 10:2. He told Moses where to put the 2 tablets of stone inside the tabernacle. And Deuteronomy 10:2, and I will write on the tables the words that were in the first tables, which thou breakest, and thou shalt put them in the ark. The ark is also called the mercy seat, the seat of God. So when God's presence was there, going along with the children of Israel in those 40 years in the desert, and as the temples were built, the ark was placed in a temple as well, in the most holy place. The mercy seat is where God sat. And inside that mercy seat were the 10 commandments. So I would say they're very important to God. And as we look at the commandments, in Matthew 22, verse 35 through 40, we find that a lawyer asked the Son of God a question. And he said, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Not the greatest, but which is the great commandment in the law? Christ answered him, saying, Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy soul, and all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the laws and all the prophets. So when you look at the Ten Commandments, there are two tables of stone. The first table had 4 commandments. The other one had 6. The first is, how do we love God? And the first 4 tells us how to do that. The next 6 tells us how to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And we're not going to murder somebody, kill somebody, or shouldn't steal from them. You know, honor the mother and the father. These are ways we show other people that we love them. God said, hey, don't use my name in vain. He said, don't forget the Sabbath. You know, these are ways. The first 4 show us how we are to love God, how we're to show the world we love God. So when we look at the commandments, look at them from that point of view. First 4, God. Next 6, how to love our fellow man. Now, if the 10 commandments were nailed to the cross and we don't have to keep them, then why is so many laws that we have today reflect the law? We have laws against murdering people, we have laws against stealing from people, and so forth, don't we? There's a reflection to God's moral law. But then again, why do we have the 10 commandments? Outside of what I've already said, 1 John 3:4, it says, whoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. Not only does the law teach us how to love God and our fellow man, it also shows us what sin is. So by knowing the law, we know what sin is. We transgress these laws. That's why Christ did say, you break one, you broke them all. You know, so it shows us what sin is. Now, a lot of people, I've heard other people, ministers say that these laws are for the Jews. Well, I have a question about that. In Genesis 26:5, why does Moses write? Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. How did Abraham keep the commandments of God if he didn't know them? They weren't written down on tables of stone then, because Abraham is the father to the house of Israel and to us as Christians. So Abraham kept the commandments of God. So were they given to the Jews at Mount Sinai? Yeah, they were, because they had spent 400 years or so in slavery. They had forgotten all about the laws of God. They had to be taught. Okay, I could spend literally hours on this subject, just in the Bible alone. Let's take a look at what John has to write in 1 John chapter 2. It says, here and hereby we do know that we know him if we keep his commandments. So now the commandments show us and others that we do know God because we keep his commandments. And also we find in verse 2 that if we break the commandments, we have an advocate with the Father, our Lord Jesus Christ. So we have an advocate on our side when we fail. In verse 4, he went on to say, he that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. The commandments are nailed to the cross. They're done away with, as some people teach. Why in John is he saying, hey, if you claim to know God and you don't keep his commandments, there's no truth, no truth in you. They couldn't have been nailed to the cross. And they have to be important to us in our everyday life. 1 John 5:2 says, by this we know that we love the children of God when we love God and keep his commandments. So by keeping his commandments, We love God. We love the children of God. How important are the commandments to God? Does he expect us to keep them? Yeah, he does.
But thank you so much, David, for answering that question. I know we may have to invite you back to expound on this. Thank you for clearing that up to say which commandment was nailed to the cross. Do you have a question that's bothering you? Question about the Bible, question about no matter what, because we believe the Bible has guideline for every question that you may have. Please put your question at our website, or if you would like further study on any topic that is presented, if you would like a one-on-one Bible study, if you want to join a group Bible study, that is also available. David, thank you so much again for coming, and let me invite you back when you can probably talk some more about this topic or maybe something else. Thank you, viewers, for watching, and have a blessed day.